Good evening and welcome to yet another D2 session. Medicine Man in partnership with Dockier brings you thought leaders to discuss about the various challenges that is facing the pharma industry. And today we have Pankaj Gursahani and Ganesh Siddhabatula. Pankaj Gursahani has over 3 decades of experience and he has worked with Eli Lilly, AstraZeneca, and now with GSK. Ganesh has over 16 years of experience in process automation, AI, analytics, and customer experience in healthcare and the banking sectors. He is currently with Bayer Pharmaceuticals. So thank you, Pankaj, for taking this time out, and thank you, Ganesh, for taking this time out. So let me quickly share the slide and show you the poll which Salil was talking about, and then we can begin the discussion. So as I said, the discussion topic today is complexities of remote engagement. And we asked this question: it is difficult to achieve call average and call coverage using remote calls. So, an overwhelming 48% said, I agree, doctors don't want remote calls. And a good 26% said some HCPs like remote calls and others prefer face-to-face. And one of the suggestions was personalize remote calls to make it more effective. And very surprisingly, 5% people said, I build good engagement on remote calls. So I think these are the people we need to really connect with to understand how they've been doing the remote call. And like Salil said, we have moved from the theory part to the actually how people are doing remote engagement now or using digital channels. So Pankaj, let me take the first question to you. What material changes have you observed in the way that pharma companies engage with HCPs before and after COVID? Have things gone back to the same, or is there any perceptible change?
Thanks, Salil and Anu, for inviting me on this knowledge sharing forum. I think Salil has given a good disclaimer that it is not a business development activity, but more of knowledge sharing. Great. Happy to be part of such forums. And I also like to give my disclaimer as well that what I'm sharing is all my personal views. It doesn't represent my organization, the current organization at this point of time. See, what I'm going to say is something you would have heard many times from many experts also, right? Pandemic has given us a good push to be digital, but that doesn't mean that we're not digital earlier. That's a one perception. I don't know why people carry in their mind that pharma was laggard. I would love to agree and disagree both on that. In some front, we were not a laggard at all. When I talk about the learning and development aspect of pharmaceutical industry, one of the best inductions, the LMSs, the e-learning, and so which means we were there somewhere as far as the digital is concerned. Yeah. But coming on to HCP engagement, I guess the industry really rose to occasion when pandemic happened, and we were thinking what skilling we need to do. But I guess every industry, every company rather, I would say within pharmaceutical industry, played their part very well to upskill the people getting into all those remote calls. And strangely or not strangely, doctor also responded very well for a very simple reason. Doctor had plenty of time. I mean, that was the one good root cause. A, I had a good articulation. B, Anup being a doctor had a plenty of time to spare. And that's the reason my remote call, frequency went up. The duration went up 27 minutes, 28 minutes. We have those exceptional examples also, which was no more exceptional. Yeah, that's how it happened. But cut to when you come back to post-pandemic time, like it or not, but doctors are busy with so much of workload they have on their plate. Doesn't mean that they don't want to be digitally engaged, but unfortunately they don't have time. It's a real unfortunate. And that's the reason the preference from them has come back to so-called normal. Tell me the brand and thank you very much, especially for the Me Too brands. I'm referring it here. Did we have a challenge to meet the doctor earlier before pandemic? Yes. Do they have a scarcity of time? The answer was yes. So things have not changed from that point of view. There is a struggle for the time. There is a struggle for the mind share also. But what has really gone well up till now, if I give you some sort of a view here, that at least 30 to 40% of doctors are tuned if I have to use the word tuned, towards different model of engagements. For example, the emailing, for example, the webinars also. So I guess that probably has established very well with 30 to 40% of customer. And my sincere guess is it's going to stay, because heart to heart, deep down, doctor also realized that I may not able to have a time to go from, let's say, Washi to South Bombay to attend a one conference. I can happily attend, through webinar, and I can spare that 4 hours of travel to spend time on the patients. So that has probably gone well. Second time, the doctor also says, be very crisp when you communicate to me face to face. But there are a lot of information, he would love to hear it. So emailing has become a good mode. While sitting in a car, moving from one clinic to another clinic, he access to many emails, go through some content which is of interest to him or her. So that way, digital engagement has really accepted well by some of the customer. What I would say, to summarize, it's a good start still. I wouldn't say that we have touched even the tip of the iceberg. And it all depends on the organization to organization, how much of appetite and patience they have to believe on the digital strategy. At this point of time, do we have a good model to measure whether digital has helped us? I don't think so. I haven't seen anywhere, but there is always a belief prevailing among all the marketeers, among all the business leaders. Yes, digital is going to stay. But if you really ask me today, do I have any ROI mechanism to track it? It is still too early to say. So that's my submission as far as your question is concerned. Anup, over to you.
Thank you, Pankaj. You're, as always, straight up to the point that yes, we have gone digital, but are we in a place to measure the outcomes, the ROI? I don't think so. And doctors are slowly adapting to other channels other than face to face. And as you rightly said, time is a great constraint. So it becomes very important how creative we are in our communication, not just finding out about the customer's preferences, but how we convey that in a creative way so that, the little time that he has when he is traveling or in between waiting for patients, that he uses it to consume the information from the companies. So, Ganesh, you have heard veteran practitioner. Pankaj has been on our forum from 2012 itself, and he's very influential in the pharma community. You've heard his views. So my question to you is that, do you think that additional value is created by companies through hybrid route of engagement? Do the digital channels create more engagement opportunities? What have you seen in your experience? Because it would be very different from that of Pankaj, which is why we thought to have this combination, of the veteran and the digital person. So over to you, Ganesh.
So, Anup, thank you for this opportunity to obviously connect with the industry experts and also sharing my opinion on how we have been adopting to the digital way of working. So I think when we talk about the opportunities that digital is creating, it is also about why do we need it, right? So something which I always quote to or we discuss in the meetings with our sales rep is also about a German psychologist, Dr. Hermann Ebbinghaus. He designed a forgetting curve, and what does the curve really say is that anything that we want to learn, and if we learn something, at the end of day 2, we forget more than 60% of what we have learned, and by day 7, we almost lose 98% of whatever information that has been learned. And now the best of doctors that we meet in the pharma industry, we have a frequency of 3 or 4, which means we meet either once in a week or maybe once in 10 days, which means the doctor has completely forgotten the entire discussion that has happened in the last call. So basically, how do we really beat this? Here is where you need to combat this forgetting curve by bringing in additional interactions, right? Which could be an approved email, which could be a remote call, which could be a interaction relating to an event, and basically you bring up or enhance the retention of the doctor. So I think on this aspect, the reps have understood this, and I think the industry has also understood the importance of the digital. What we have also learned from the reps who have been using these channels in the experience sharing sessions that we do is that these reps who have been using these channels, as your survey also suggests, around 5 to 10% of these reps are also doing really well in business. And if you ask them, they have been able to build extremely good relationship with doctors, not only on the not only about the brand, but also the rapport that they have with these doctors. Now this creates additional opportunities, and they have been able to engage these doctors more. So so the ones who have been using these channels have really benefited from the digital or hybrid way of working.
Great. That's wonderful to hear that. You're absolutely bang on point when it comes to the challenges of pharma. One, as Pankaj rightly said, is a time constraint. The other one, you brought in this Ebbinghaus curve or the forgetting curve. That is so natural to us in an overloaded world where 50 reps are meeting you every probably once a week, or if the doctor has kept a day in a week or in a month or whatever, and by the time the next cycle comes, nothing has remained. So I think the digital channels will really help in reinforcing what the rep has conveyed during his face-to-face call, which is a unique model, as Salil Kalyanpur always likes to say, that pharma is the only one industry which has got a one-to-one relationship with every of its customers, or at least most of their customers. So I think while the field force will remain, I think the digital channels, as you rightly said, and as Pankaj also said, will help in reinforcing and overcoming the challenge posed by the Ebbinghaus curve and supplement the work of the rep. So Pankaj, next question is, companies have rapidly adopted closed loop marketing software to assist in the ability to engage HCPs remotely. How has that worked out in your experience? And also, how have the sales colleagues adapted to it? And what notable feedback have you received from your customers?
Ganesh, by the way, really loved your thoughts also, what you said about that, the encouragement, what the sales rep have given you on the digital front. I mean, that's also the fact of the life, because what our company thinks, our sales rep is the one who's the face of the company. And if he and she has a belief in digital, assume that the company has a belief in digital. I mean, that's given in my mind. Okay. Now, CLM point of view, and Salil correct me, and Anu correct me also. I think it's not a new thing. At least I can vouch for many of the multinationals. We initiated the journey way back in 2012. And that too, the moment we introduced the concept of iPads.
Right.
iPad came along with CLM came also, closed loop marketing, if I have to use it, yeah. And I think first 2 years, if I have to tell you, it was great start. Brilliant start, in the sense we used to track the timings also, the length of the call and everything. It went for 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Wow, boy, this is really cool stuff. Suddenly 30-second call has become 5-minute call. But I guess first 2 years were honeymooning period. Then doctor got also used to it and everything. And by the way, CLM was a backfired in the COVID time and post-COVID time. Why? Because doctor wants to maintain the distance of so-called 10 meters or 6 meters and all that. And the small screen of iPad, how would you view it, by the way? You can't even enlarge it also. And I remember I made one call to a doctor from the balcony. I mean, I was on the ground floor and doctor was asking me to detail from the balcony itself. So imagine, in those scenarios, the CLM did not work in our favor, but it was a more of a personal connect. Having said that, if I talk about the current situation here, I think CLM is now hygiene factor. I would not like to say it's any more a differentiator, because that's the one of my way to measure. But the point here is, what should we measure? Because my duration of call is not increasing. It still remain at around 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, 1 minute, 40 seconds. I'm sorry, this must be the so-called industry norm also, barring few outliers here and there.
Sure.
Not that there's a problem with my content. You may argue that there could be a problem with the content also, but the fact is, again, doctor would not like to give more than 2 minutes, no matter how skillful you are as a sales rep. So is it a real marker for CLM to see the length? May not be the case anymore. Or as a marketeer, you really want to pick up those specific, if I have to use the word frames, where you want him to spend more time. That's another good marker to look at. So what I have seen the shift, many of the marketers, when I speak in different forums, they have moved away from the length of the call. They are focusing currently on the specific frames of the call, that within 2 minutes, what are the one or two key frames where you're trying to convey the effective message? Has it been detailed also or not? So that's a great shift I can see from pre-pandemic to the post-pandemic. But again, some issue I see it here, because I still don't know whether the CLM is working in my favor. Again, there's a belief, because majority of my marketeers all across the industry, all the companies, they don't do too much of message recall test in a most structured manner, that if I detail to Dr. Salil and Dr. Anup from Bangalore and Mumbai, how much of message retention he got it. Now, that exercise I don't do that much, as I should have been doing it in the good old days time. So that's the one area probably which is not giving a closed loop to us. So again, I'm going with the so-called belief. Yes, CLM is working. Yes, I can see those frames has been detailed, but I'm still not sure how much Dr. Anup and Dr. Salil have retained, because I don't have any proof of concept after that. What I'm seeing is only my internal data, and basis on that, I'm having a belief that yes, CLM is working and this is the right way of utilizing the CLM. But tomorrow, if as an organization or as an industry, we start working very hard on message recall testing by the doctors, then I think we have got a very good show to perform. I can prove the point also that message recall is going on, the digital is working, emailing is also working, but because the message is same. Either I send it through email, through webinar, or through CLM. And if I'm approaching Dr. Anup through different forums, through different channels, and he retains the message, I don't care whether I spend 30 seconds with Dr. Anup. What I would care, that Dr. Anup have understood the entire message around my brand. Bravo. So this is a way probably I would like to build on. Yes, CLM is there, it will there, but you really have to pick up the right KPIs to make sure that how it has been effectively utilized. So that's my summation, Anup.
Great. That's wonderful insight that you have given, that CLM is now a hygiene factor, and that use of this multiple channels or omni-channel, as you would say, as long as the message is the same, has increased the recall. That's what matters at the end of the day. If the doctor remembers you, your company, and your therapy area and your brand, I think nothing else is needed. And very rightly, both Ganesh and you said that if the rep is confident about the digital, then the company becomes confident about the digital, because the rep will always be the face of the company. So wonderful insights, Pankaj. Thank you. I fully agree with you. So Ganesh, in the initial days, companies always thought that doctors are not digital savvy. Is that still the case? Although I have close to 10,000 doctors following me on Twitter now, and I see a lot of interactions, and I believe that they have really scaled up the digital curve. But in your opinion, what changes have happened in the way doctors have upped their digital skills? And finally, how have you guided your team to adapt to this?
I think some fantastic thoughts by Pankaj out here, to the point on what to measure. I think which becomes extremely important in this era of physical plus digital. On your question, Anup, I think we as a country have always been extremely fast in adopting any technology, and COVID just fast tracked that. And as a society, we have adopted to multiple channels of communication in our personal lives as well. And doctors have obviously, as being part of the society, have also adopted. So I don't think there are any doctors, or it would be a very, very small percentage who would not be using digital channels to interact either in their personal or professional life. So I don't think that challenge exists now. I think the sales team also understands that doctors are using multiple channels, and this opens up opportunities for them to also create additional interactions. And obviously, if you ask me, they understand better than us that you need to be where the customer is. So definitely, I mean, the adoption, obviously some channels are need additional effort, additional preparation for interaction. But if you see channels like approved email, we have like close to 100% adoption of that, with also a very, very good open rate. So I think the adoption is there across the industry with the reps and also with doctors.
Great. I think you very rightly said that as a country, we are good at adapting technology, and no more proof of that is needed. When we see the fintech sector, everybody now uses one or the payment gateway, whether it is Paytm or Google, or, literally there are, 10 to 20 top payment channels, which even from the roadside vendor to the topmost establishment business, we all have learned to carry our money on our phone. So when we are using the digital channels, whether it is to travel, whether it is to transact, whether it is to buy something that we want and surf and understand, it's really a question of time before pharma really understand how this really works, and what kind of platform that doctors are looking for. So which is why I've always said that being on the social media, not so much to promote your product or anything else, but to listen to the doctors, because they find it very comfortable to put a hashtag #MedTwitter or MedEd and start tweeting and talking about their needs. So if that is done as a listening post, and I think that they can very well customize and personalize the communication, which is what we were talking about when it comes to digital channels and remote calls. So Pankaj, a very important role for customer insight, personalized content, and real-time update to keep the content has emerged. This may create new ways of working within an organization that is used to updating content once in 90 days, although that may not be the case for many companies like yours. What measures did you take to help the marketing and sales team to adapt to this?
Anup, frankly, we are still evolving as an industry on this front. What you have said as a part of a question, it's an ideal situation to be in. That have we really seen the trends in last 2 years, 6 months, how doctors consuming my content? Frankly, most of the companies, they are not fully equipped with that so-called structure to analyze it. No offense. That's one. But yes, when I interact with many people, some companies are doing already some great work. I wish I could mention the names also, but it's not important. What I'm talking about, the work that last 1 year, 2 years, they have seen the doctors' way of consuming their content in different forums, whether this is seminars, webinars, emailing, face-to-face, Viva Engage call. So they've understood. And with the help of AI, they are trying to understand what doctor preferred the most. And this is interesting in the sense whether Dr. Anup is fond of efficacy message, vis-a-vis Dr. Salil is very keen for safety measures for the drug or for his patient, or for Dr. Ganesh, it is a compliance or let's say convenience of the drug is very, very important. Same product, 3 different motivators. Now, this AI can support you and help you. And if I'm the rep, meeting 3 of you, the AI will able to support me and tell me, look, Pankaj, when you go to Dr. Anup, our recommendation is talk about efficacy message because of the past trend. So I have built some kind of a persona for Dr. Anup. But at the same time, I still have the, I would say, the choice to not to use AI. If I see, no, Dr. Anup, current need is this, but that call I can still take. But what I'm trying to tell you, that the time will come, the system, the AI should able to recommend something to the rep to detail what doctor would like to hear, and which is a very AI based. So what is happening? I'm still making a face-to-face call, mind you, but look at my medium of operating with you is completely becoming digital. And if this happens in the future down the line, I think that's the best example how we have embedded the entire digital strategy in our selling process. Yeah. So Anup is a wishful thinking, seriously speaking. Your question is also very, I would say, futuristic and progressive. Really, I yet to see an example, but at least I can tell you with all the sincerity, the thought has occurred, which is a great start. Maybe 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, you and Salil, when you invite some other experts, I'm sure they're able to share such example. By the way, Ganesh, fun fact, he called me an expert, but I have only 5 doctors to being followed, wherein Anup has got 10,000 doctors. So now you know on the platform who is an expert. But anyway, over to you, Anup.
Yeah, that's very important that we look at new concepts. At least we understand them, that how AI can help in creating personas based on the interests of the doctors. So and many such inputs will emerge as we begin to use this new channel, the digital channel. We will realize how important it is and how useful it is to supplement the work of the medical rep as well as the company's whole strategy itself, and how can content be made increasingly more useful to the doctor in helping to manage his patients better.
So just want to add one thing, just forgot. It also requires a lot of appetite and patience by the organization.
Right.
Seriously speaking, it's going to be a labor of love over the next maybe 3 quarter, 4 quarter, even 1 year also. Who knows it? Do you have that much of patience is a question to be asked. This is an important area. That's the reason many companies, they give up, but many companies who had a faith, they continue with that. And that's the reason people like Anup and Salil, they struggle to get some great example across the industry, even though they have been talking about it in this last many years, is my summation on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you need patience and persistence in anything. Even with the rep, we are persistent. Many of them, once they join the organization, it takes 6 months to a year or sometimes even more before they get used to the territory, before they begin to understand how that particular market works and produce results. So if we can be patient in the learning and development curve of our medical reps, I'm sure that we can do that as we adopt new channels also, to see willing to make mistakes, because it's all about experimenting to find out what works and what does not work. So Salil always likes to say, I don't believe there are best practices in digital. There are only next practices, because there's nobody an expert over here, including me. We're all learning new things every day. And I think that's the fun part of digital, is that how much we are connected because of this. Just look at this now, Pankaj, you have moved to Bangalore, but I can still see you, talk to you, and have a chat with you because of the digital channel.
It is.
So Ganesh, in our discussion with industry colleagues, we realized that sales and marketing colleagues, they feel that doctors still appreciate face-to-face calls and meetings, as we have seen in the polls also. I'm sure that it cannot be done away with. Are there additional resources that companies have invested to help manage and adapt to the hybrid or digital working, since we think that is going to be the future? Your thoughts, Ganesh?
So, Anup, I think doctors definitely appreciate face-to-face calls, and obviously it is difficult to replicate the warmth, the presence of someone when you are meeting in a face-to-face call. But that does not mean that doctors are also averse to digital. And doctor, as we all know, is always squeezed on time. And in a digital call, you are asking a doctor for dedicated time, undivided attention. And in fact, our data also suggests that the remote or virtual calls have like 6 to 8 times more duration than a face-to-face call. So unless the doctor sees value in the interaction, they will not give you that time, right? And so can we give up on the channel? Obviously, no. The because it is such an important channel, and when we talk about hybrid way of working, remote is obviously one of the extremely important channels. So we need to basically equip the team with all the required resources for them to utilize this opportunity and benefit from it. So where can we work on is basically providing them with a soft skill for digital calls, help them with basic things like role plays. Initially, maybe also provide scripts on how can they start a call, end a call. From the marketing side, support them with differentiated content. You cannot have the same content in a remote call. Maybe you need to design it with less of content in the slide, only having the important aspects. You can have dedicated digital days, which we also do in Bayer, and obviously motivate the rep, recognize the ones who are doing, bring them to forums where they can share their experiences, which can in turn help others to adopt the best practices.
Great, that's wonderful. So I think the role reverts back to you, Pankaj, is that all the learning and development professionals have a great role to play if digital adoption by pharma companies have to be successful, whether it is in making the reps more familiar with the digital tools and more proficient in the use of these tools, or even I would say, just like CME, the pharma industry keeps updating the doctors. I think probably they have a role now to help the doctors. How do they use the digital channels for their own benefit? And as you rightly said, when Ganesh, that when it's a face-to-face interaction, the doctors, in the doctor's mind at least, the time is fixed. It's going to be 30 seconds or 1 minute, no more than that. But the beautiful thing is that while doctor or anybody is busy, nobody is having the free time kept actually free. The hand is always having some device. So if you can be on that digital channel, and when the doctor is free, I think you have a very good proposition of supplementing the work of the rep, who is the ambassador of the company and with a great advantage, but who now has to learn new skills. And even the doctor, I would say, needs some help in how he can use these channels to better manage his practice, better manage his patients. Digital therapeutics and so many other things are coming in. Some have even gained FDA approval, and doctors are prescribing them to help patients better manage themselves. So great discussion. Thank you so much, Pankaj. Always a pleasure interacting with you, meeting with you. And Ganesh, I hope that this has been an interesting session for you. I'm glad we had you on board to share your practical insights. So thank you very much, gentlemen.